Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I've got this one for you tonight. I was digging around on the Oversight Committee, and I found this letter that Jim Jordan and the Republicans on that committee sent to Representative Maloney, who is the person who took over after Cummings passed away. So I wanted to just share this with you. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to give you the highlights, but basically, they start out and say, on September 24th, 2019, Speaker Pelosi unilaterally announced that the House of Representatives would initiate an inquiry into impeaching President Donald J. Trump. On October 31st, Democrats passed, over bipartisan opposition, a resolution establishing a facade of fairness for the Democrats', quote, impeachment inquiry, but drastically departs from bipartisan precedent on presidential impeachment. The Democrats' impeachment resolution and their failure to follow their own rules has led to a one-sided, partisan, and fundamentally unfair inquiry that has divided the country. The Committee on Oversight and Reform has taken a central role in this inquiry, to the detriment of the committee's other important bipartisan work. Now, if you remember, this is actually being fueled not just by the Intel Committee, but there are two other committees involved in that, and that's the Foreign Affairs and the Oversight Committee. So all three of those have been working together, even though Adam Schiff is really the face of it that we've been seeing. But all three of those committees are involved, and anybody that's on all three of those committees has been able to be part of any of these different hearings that they've had, even the closed door ones. And Jim Jordan is the ranking member for this Oversight Committee. But they shifted him also. I mean, besides that position, he is also now on the Intel Committee just so he could ask questions, because only the people on the Intel Committee were allowed to ask questions. And see, this is where I think anybody should be able to see that this was not fair, because you have three committees involved, but only one committee could ask questions. And it just seems to me so obvious when you look at this, how it was put together. But anyway, the committee Republicans have consistently urged committee Democrats to set aside their partisan agenda and tackle the pressing issues that affect all Americans. For example, and then he starts listing them: combating waste, fraud, and abuse. Wouldn't that be a nice thing for them to be working on? And then you have oversight of D.C. Metro board scandals. Again, something that would be very good to be working on instead of focusing so much on this, quote, impeachment inquiry. Border security and human trafficking, a very vital thing to be working on. So, that should be something they should be dealing with. Combating rising drug costs. I think we could all benefit from that. And opioid crisis, that's another one that's a biggie. Legislation, oh gee, what a concept that they should be working on legislation to deal with stuff like facial recognition technology, reforms to burdensome, inefficient, and duplicative federal red tape, reforms to the bloated and unaccountable federal workforce. And I just saw an article today that said that they've come out with a study that says, oh, we need more government employees. It's like, no, we don't. We need less, lots less. Transparency and accountability in federal spending. So, yeah, these are all the things that they could be working on and making legislation on, but they're not. Cybersecurity and reforms to federal information technology systems, and reforms to modernize the U.S. Postal Service and prevent a taxpayer-funded bailout. As Chairman Cummings once counseled, quote, our work in this committee must not be driven by the next election. See, they can use their words against them because they always say that when they're not in power. And then when they get in power, all of a sudden the tables are turned and, oh, no, we can't do that. The important issues listed above have been brushed aside and seemingly forgotten by committee Democrats in favor of partisan investigations of the president, all culminating in the ongoing, quote, impeachment inquiry. As the newly elected chairwoman of the Committee on Oversight and Reform, we urge you to remember Chairman Cummings' wise words and orient the committee's work toward consensus-based, bipartisan solutions. The Democrats' quote, impeachment inquiry has a real opportunity cost for the American people who expect us to work together to solve real problems and not to pursue one-sided and fundamentally unfair political investigations. And then, of course, it's signed by all of the Republicans that are on that committee. So, yeah, it goes down and on because there's several of them. So anyway, I wanted to point that out to you because the Republicans are drawing attention to the real issue. Here we have a government that's not doing anything. Everything has stopped except for this impeachment thing. And, it's so bogus because when you're listening to these hearings, you hear the truth. You hear them talking about how Trump just wasn't doing things their way. And they were ticked about it. That's what it really boils down to. So anyway, I thought there was a very interesting moment that I want to share with you with Mike Pompeo today, because he gave a little presser and he made one comment in particular to one question, and I just want to include this. So here you go.
Just a quick follow-up, sir. The president tweeted just a short while ago that he'd encourage you essentially to testify in the impeachment investigation. Is that something you're considering?
When the time is right, all good things happen.
Let's end with Michelle.
Thank you.
And look at that grin. He knows what's going to happen. He's not worried at all. And all of these people in the media that are saying, Trump's worried, and, the people in his administration are just, it's chaotic and they don't know, and they're all scared that it's going to come tumbling down. And it's like, no, they're not. I'm sorry, they're not. Look at that face. He knows. He knows what's going to happen, and he's not worried about it one bit. So keep that in mind, folks. I thought that was something you all needed to see. So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you all later.